This episode of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live is brought to you in part by Viewfinder's Identity Search and Design. Your choice for web design, graphic design, and all multimedia development needs. Visit VFISAD.com and let us bring your vision to reality.
This is Charlotte Chung.
And Fred Tatasciore.
And you're listening to
A.C.M.G. Presents
Talk Time Live.
This week, I reviewed Daemon X Machina and Tech War Fighter on the Nintendo Switch, plus a major news announcement regarding an anime based on a cult classic RPG from Square Enix coming next year. All this and more as ACMG presents Talk Time Live Extra Select Start.
Welcome to the show to give you all the news, views, and opinions in the world of gaming. This is ACMG presents Talk Time Live Extras Select Start with your host, Xavier Josiah. Power up and game on.
And welcome back to another episode of Select Start. I am your host, Xavier Josiah. I hope everybody had a great and safe 4th of July weekend, which I know you did not, if you look at the news. But at least for the most part, I hope most of our listeners did. And they're keeping themselves and their families and friends and just people in general safe out there. It's not over yet. We still got a lot going on in the world majorly. And we just need to be chill about it. So hopefully that is happening. Before we get anywhere near to gaming, I want to give a big shout out to all of the new listeners and the new followers on Podbean. As of recently, we've had a exponential growth of followers on that platform, and I can't be more grateful and thankful for all of you. And thankful to Podbean too, because they put us on the featured section of their website recently, and I think that's what that's alluding to. Plus, the release of the Cast of Naruto exclusive that I did, which is getting huge numbers of downloads. This is like as of right now, this is officially the biggest downloaded episode of the year by far. And I'd be remiss to see what's going to be next, but I never know who's going to be on the show or what I'm going to be doing next with the show. So I can never say that. But thank you to everybody who has been listening, who is now listening, and who hopefully will keep listening to this show as we move on, because we got a lot to talk about, not only in gaming, but all things anime, comics, movies, and games, of course. So on Sunday, I will talk a little bit more deeper about the Naruto cast exclusive that I did just a while ago, because there was some feedback I got, and some really heartfelt feedback that I got from fans of the show and how it affected them in such a really, really interesting way. And it's something I do want to touch on, why the Naruto series is such a big deal to many. So we'll talk about that on our Sunday show, because it will be anime based. So if you're all the otaku listeners out there, definitely get ready for that. But I digress. Let's get to some gaming news. Actually, we're going to talk about anime and gaming at the same time too. So because we have to talk about this, and I was thinking, because it's an anime, I was going to wait till the Prime show on this Sunday when I talk about it, but it's based on one of my favorite cult classic action RPGs, so we got to talk about this now. Just a few days ago, Funimation now announced some major news. I couldn't be more happy and excited about this. I blew my mind. It blew my mind when I saw this announcement, and I didn't think this was ever happening or will happen or whatever. It is coming. One of the cult classic RPG games from Square Enix and Jupiter is coming in 2021, and it is none other than The World Ends With You, a game that I have played on the iOS. So when I first played it started on the Nintendo DS, built this huge cult classic, and then I discovered it from when I played it on my gamepad, on my iPad and the iPhone, and fell in love with this game, because not only just because of the art style, which is it's just phenomenal, man. It's absolutely awesome. The art style is just awesome, which I believe is inspired by Shibuya of all people from youth culture. Very graffiti-like. I love it. But the narrative and storytelling was so awesome here. This is like the Sixth Sense of video games. If you can understand that. If you played it, you understand what I'm talking about with that. But now this is going to be the Sixth Sense of anime. And I have reason to believe that if it's going to be as any good, and it is, because it's going to be strictly based off of the game, this could be one of the best anime series in years. And I'm recently replaying it again upon this announcement, and it is the storytelling is just so damn good. And it's basically, how can I describe what is happening? There's a character named Niku who everybody loves. Niku is he's kind of a loner. I don't want to say he's kind of an introvert and loner, but he wakes up and regains consciousness in the middle of the intersection and has no memory of anything that's going on in the world right now and where he's at or what happened. But he finds himself in this game, in this type of world in this game, and he meets a bunch of different characters within the game. But he's also discovering that this is a life or death survival type of situation that he's in, because he's getting these new powers that he's never had before. He's also a part of this game based on these characters called the Reapers, and he has to complete tasks within a certain time. Now, as you go through along the game, he discovers that he's dead. And now he's trying to discover how he died and what happened and all types of situation, and it just unravels to so much more as time goes by, and some things happen in between, and you get drawn into these characters so well. The character development and the story narrative draws you in so well in this game. And if you've never played this game but you play Kingdom Hearts, you've seen this character. I believe the characters in Neko and all those have been seen, I think, on what was it? One of the Kingdom Hearts games. It was two or one of the spin-off games that they did for this. But The World Ends With You, there is a stage on there. So you've seen it, but may not have recognized where it was from or started learning where it was from. But that's how really great this game, for that game to have its own stage on Kingdom Hearts, that speaks volumes. But and the gameplay is very different too, because it's more of a touch-based style of gameplay. I was mad, and I spoke about this before on the previous episodes. I was mad that they decided to go the touchscreen way on the Nintendo Switch, because I'd rather it be using the analog stick, but for some reason they decided to do it. It's not really as fun to play it using your finger. I use a stylus, much like I did with the iPad, to play the game, but once I started using the stylus, I forgot all about it and just still enjoyed the game for what it was. I just wish they allowed you to have options to be able to play the game in a different way that you did before. But there are some different story elements on the recent one, and it's just awesome. But the anime, the trailer for the anime looks so freaking awesome. I cannot wait for this to come out. And the cool, because he has 7 days to figure out what's going on. 7 days, and that's not a long time to do anything, but it looks beautiful. The anime looks so awesome. Seeing this in motion like this is going to be crazy. Seeing all the characters like Beats and Rhyme and some of the other Reapers and stuff like that, this is going to be great. I cannot wait for this. I cannot wait to see everything that I've played in this game in motion, and the results of everything, and how it ends and how everything happens. I can tell you this is going to be an OVA without a doubt. This is not going to be like a long running series, because it's covering 7 days, but it is coming in 2021. Oh man, we got another 6 months or so to wait for this. This is insane. I can't wait. This is some of the best news that I've had, that I've heard in so long in regards to anime-based games. So, and Funimation is getting the rights to it. So, which means we're going to get a sub and dub version for everybody to like. So I absolutely appreciate it. And you know what? I'm going to say this right now. For those of you who will complain about the dub, first of all, shut up. Two, I got to point this out because a friend of mine who is Japanese, we had this conversation, and she even brought up something really interesting on the A.C.M.G. Facebook group in regards to sub and dubs. I had this argument for so long because there's always this sub versus dub type of conversation. And one of these days, I'm going to get her on this show to talk about this because I've been waiting to get this clarification for so long. There are people who swear down the subs. Look, the anime uppity who swear down the subs, which is the most pretentious thing ever. I gotta say, it is absolutely the most pretentious thing ever because one, most of the people who swear down to these subs aren't people who aren't fluent in the language. First of all, majority of the people who swear down the subs are not fluent in the Japanese language. Two, the other thing is that they only like it because they want to consider themselves purist because they feel that the sub version is the natural dialogue and it's the perfect version. That is how true. That is so not true in a sense, and here's why. My theory to that is that okay, so you like the subs, you like to hear them speak in their natural dialect. That's fine. I respect that to that extent. But what makes you think that just because they're speaking their natural dialect and language, that is any better than what we're hearing from the dub? Who's to say that somebody from Japan who is watching their own show in their language doesn't say that these voices suck? And in fact, my friend Himena, who absolutely confirmed this and said that she likes some dubs better than the subs because she knows and watches them raw. I might add, she doesn't use the subtitles. She doesn't need to use the subtitles. She watches it raw, and some of the voices doesn't click with her and doesn't click with everybody. So just because you like them in sub does not mean that they're better than dub. It just means that you're stupidly pretentious about it and you think you know what you're talking about. No, it's not true. Which means you can like whatever you like. Himena has told me that, and she not only did she tell me that like not all of them are good, but she also went out of her way to give an example on our A.C.M.G. Facebook group and had a clip of the movie Joker with Joaquin Phoenix on there. And the scene where Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro during the talk show scene at the very end, she showed a clip of that, from the Japanese version of that, which was very well done, I might say. The Japanese dub of Joker was awesome. But she pointed that out, that like the difference between the two and the contrast between the two, and it shut a lot of people up. And I'm here to shut a lot of people up right now. So please, people, like what you like, but don't say that one is better than the other, especially when you don't know truly which is better than one or the other. And don't hassle people because you're supposed to be the natural or purist, which you're not. That's the point. Stop being anime uppity about it and just enjoy anime for what it is, whatever it is, and how you want it to be. Whatever you like. Just don't hassle anybody else for liking it the way that they want to. That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna move on from this, but absolutely awesome that The World Ends With You is coming in 2021. Cannot wait for that. In other news, and unfortunate news, WWE 2K Battlegrounds has announced its release date and new details of this, and I gotta say, upon hearing this, I am not happy with this at all. But let's move on. The game is set to release on September 18th with over 70 wrestlers available at launch. WWE 2K Battlegrounds is created by Team 2K or 2K Team or the two. Let me rephrase that. The WWE 2K Battleground is created by the 2K team behind NBA Battlegrounds, which I actually do like NBA Battlegrounds. NBA Battlegrounds, if you haven't played it before, but you love NBA Jam, it's the 3D version of NBA Jams, but not directly to it. They just made a game that really rivals that old school arcade feel, and I thought that they did it really well, especially the second one, Battlegrounds 2. I like Battlegrounds 2 a lot. Much easier to play, difficulty level is not too hard, and you absolutely enjoy it. I don't know too much about WWE 2K Battleground. They're going to do the same thing. Pretty much what happened here, if you don't know, WWE and 2K Games is looking to do the same thing with the latest attempt. After basically they're trying to regain momentum back from the lack of quality that they had in last year's 2K20, which was said to be the biggest disaster. So much so I didn't even want to play it. When I found out that Yuke's discontinued their long-running relationship with the company, I knew that this was a means to an end and it was going to doom it. And in fact, it did, because WWE had the worst wrestling game ever last year. I mean, it was just and I want to say ever, but in years. Like, not since Legends of Wrestling. It's been said to have been that bad. Full of glitches, and it was just, because I believe, if I'm correct, if I remember, Ukes left mid-development to this. And they there was an interview that they did, I think the CEO did a while back, talking about how they just lost motivation. And this was during a time when WWE was just, the morality of WWE, which is still continuing now, has declined because of everything that was going on behind the scenes and everything. And, it's happening. So they decided to leave, and they're going to make their own new wrestling game, which still hasn't been announced yet. And AEW is still in the midst of making their own wrestling game as well, amongst other ones. So we still have yet to find out what Ukes is going to be doing soon, and no word on it yet. They've been very, very secretive about it, and probably even more now because of COVID-19, so we don't know their status of anything. But WWE 2K Battlegrounds is going to be like a super deformed, over-the-top arcade-style wrestling game, much like WWE Superstars. This is not like their first attempt at doing something like this, which means also there's possibilities that this game is going to include some very, very limited gameplay. It's going to be some limitations. I guarantee there's going to be some limitations with this. Probably just, 1-2 button controls. It's not going to be anything like of the simulation style that Ukes had. So there'll probably be limitations in terms of move sets and all the things that you could have done in the Uke space, 2K games. Unfortunately, it looks like definitely there will be no creative wrestler features, and the creative suite is gone, because I believe that was a Ukes trademark exclusive anyway. So that right there is just, that was the meat and potatoes of WWE 2K games, was the creative suite. And it's sad when WWE 2K18 on a Nintendo Switch was better than 2K20. That's just bad. 2K Games also announced that there will be 4 game modes that will be included in the game. And upon looking at this, I was not impressed at all. The campaign mode, which consists of 7 new and fictional wrestlers, which are competing for a WWE contract. So there will be some type of a story element here. So that's good. Or bad. 2. You will pick one. You will pick like one and fight your way through multiple stages with the help of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Paul Heyman along the way. Maybe more. I don't know. Then there you have the exhibition mode, which is mostly a local and multiplayer mode of up to 4 people. There's King of the Battleground, which is another online last man standing mode of up to 4 players. To begin with 4, and then you got 4 waiting after that. Basically, this is the Royal Rumble, and they just call it King of the Battlegrounds. So you have that. The game also has 8 locations to fight across, and a lot of wacky and cartoony elements so there's going to be a lot of, environmental elements that you're going to be interacting with throughout the stages as well. The roster will consist of current and past wrestlers as well. So after looking at this, my thoughts on this is like, I'm not buying this game. One, well, not only just because it looks like it's going to be very limited. I mean, it looks good, but so did the other games too. And it just looks like it's going to be very limited in the gameplay compared to last year. It's going to be very arcade based, which is not the worst thing in the world. But more or less, I think that you're not going to get that same experience that you had before. And furthermore, the other reason is that I'm just not supporting any WWE based games right now. I just decided, and I'm not being biased in a sense of like I like AEW or any other wrestling organization better, but I'm just tired of giving money to an organization who has the worst moral and ethics of any company I've ever seen in years. And if you follow wrestling, if you follow wrestling for real, and you're not just like a stubborn, wrestling fan who wishes to look at these through a naive set of gargles, you've realized that they've done some really crappy stuff over the years, and I'm tired of supporting that. I've been a fan of them during the Attitude Era, and still love the Attitude Era stuff. Still love Stone Cold and The Rock and all that stuff, and I love the past. But let's be real, the stuff in the past weren't all that great anyway. And then just all this stuff that's been happening over the years, it's like after a while, the moral side of me was like, I can't take this. Not to mention, they don't treat their staff that well. There's a situations right now with the COVID-19 situation that they always try to gloss over and stuff. I mean, it's just a lot of stuff when it comes to WWE. So I decide not to mess with that company at all or work with that company at all. I cannot in all sense actually support that company. But there are the hardcore fans out there that refuse, and I mean refuse to. I mean, yeah, it's crazy because people feel like you can't be a wrestling fan if you're not a WWE fan, and that's ridiculous. You can still be a wrestling fan and not be a WWE fan, point blank. But nonetheless, this game will have a lot for. I think people will buy it, but I have a feeling. My hunch is that it's not going to turn out well. It's not going to have that same pizzazz as the prior years, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see what happens. There are a lot of other wrestling games that are in the works right now anyway, so we'll see how that goes. But I am going to opt out of even putting in money for this game and investing in this game at all. I refuse for a lot of reasons. But let's move on, because we actually got more wrestling news coming up, and this is in the form of Super Nintendo Online, which will be adding 3 new cool classic games coming next week. What is this? July 15th, which is, it's going to be Wednesday. Wednesday, July 15th, they're going to be releasing 3 new games. One of them is the all-time favorite Donkey Kong Country. The second one is Immortal. And for us wrestling fans, Natsume Championship Wrestling, that classic. So that's coming all to Super Nintendo Online, and what a great time for them to bring that game. So I could use another wrestling game until Retro Mania Wrestling comes in, which is looking ever so good. We get new vlogs every week from Mike Herman in regards to the process of the game, and it looks like it's shaping up. It is coming this September from what they said. Hopefully it will continue to come, because they keep adding new content to it, to the game. So, better late than never. And I'm looking forward to playing that game and much more from there. So I'm really, really hoping that game is going to do well, because it looks great. I will say that hopefully that there will be more frames of animation for what I see, because what I'm seeing right now is, I know they're trying to get retro, but I would love to see more frames of animation from the title. But we'll see how they do. It looks good right now. I'm hoping to see more and getting a chance to play that game. So Some really interesting and possibly sad news if you're a fan of the Game Informer magazine. Andy McNamara, who is the editor-in-chief of Game Informer, if you ever read the magazines, which I do, he would always have some really great editorials, which, is kind of, when you read it, it's kind of looking through the looking glass of what he's done, what he's seen throughout the years of his life in the gaming industry. And after every so often, I do read his editorials, especially during very significant times of the gaming industry. And I really love his stuff, but he just gave his last editorial because he is stepping down as editor-in-chief of Game Informer. In a heartfelt final editorial on the latest Game Informer entitled "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye," he writes to the fans, myself included, of the magazine and how much he has appreciated the 29 years he has worked for the media group. He talks about the great times and the hardships of building the media brand, but not regretting one bit of it, and just loving it all the way. And I loved when I heard that because it just reminds me of kind of what I'm doing with A.C.M.G. and everything going on here. And it's like, it's not all roses, but the fact of the matter is, no matter what, you love what you do and you work and you have fun doing it, but you got to work hard to have fun. And I can't stress that enough. And it's not all going to be great. It's not all going to be perfect, and you're going to have to, get through some things. And it was great to hear him actually say that as well, briefly as it was, but he, just saying it and pointing it out. It's awesome because you have to go through hardships no matter what. It's like nothing is perfect. And that's what I think people need to understand. Like, when they see people doing really cool things in the industry that they love, you have to understand that there's always been some rough times along the way. But if you really love it that much, you will embrace them because and expect them to come. Actually, when you do that, it's not that really hard. But he briefly and vaguely discussed his next venture, in which he assures us that although he is leaving Game Informer, he is not leaving the game industry. He does not say, though, where he's heading, as I'm sure is some sort of a NDA clause within that. That's standard. It's understandable, but I gotta say, I really enjoyed his time on Game Informer and what he's done and what he's contributed to it. And a man with that much history, it's an awesome thing. I really wish I can hear that from not only people like him, and I had Chris Milicinas, who's also a gaming historian, on his show. Billy twice on his show. I wish once I can get somebody who's been in the industry of color, who's been in the industry for that long as well. I'm really, with everything, we're with us working hard to change the life narrative, or the narrative of life and quality of life. I want so bad to talk with somebody of my culture, my community, or other communities at that. We do hear some other cultures outside of that, but never of African American. I know there's one or two guys out there in every single industry that may have done it, but I want to see more. I want to see more who can experience these great things and who are afforded these opportunities. And you don't see that much. I feel like we're in a Hunger Games where I don't know if that's the right reference to do, but there's always a tribute that is getting the opportunity to fight their way for a chance at a better life. And it's sad because this is the systemic part of things that is sad. We fight. There's some people who are just as smart, just as intuitive, just as diligent, who can, experience this as well. But, we can, and hopefully that'll change. But, shout out to Andy McNamara. And, I enjoyed his editorials, and I will miss him. I will miss that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he's doing next. Hopefully I'll get that information coming soon too. So, I believe this is the last bit of news I have for this segment, and that is AT&T is reportedly looking to sell their Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment brand, which includes NetherRealm Studios, of course, you know Ed Boon Studios that makes Mortal Kombat, TT Games, which makes Lego series, and others. This is crazy. I don't know what the reason for this is or why. Does this mean that they're not making that much profit as what they wanted to from this? Or maybe this is just a good time to sell because it could be anything. I don't know the reason for this, but they're apparently selling. And upon this announcement, many companies have expressed their interest in acquiring the company, including Take-Two, Electronic Arts, EA, and I hope they don't buy it. I hope they don't get a hold of this. I'm not a fan of EA, not because of the quality of their games, but again, what they have done. They have some past crap with them, and there's always something about EA games lately that I do not like. It's always something. Activision is also putting their bid. I wouldn't mind seeing Activision acquire them as well. And reportedly, and I really hope this is not the case, Microsoft. As you know, Microsoft has also acquired other companies to do exclusive games with them, including like Double Fine and some other who else? I forgot who else was doing it, but I know Double Fine is one of the companies that is working with them to do exclusive games. I really hope, I pray that Microsoft does not get it, because that means it's a possibility that Mortal Kombat will be exclusively for Microsoft, and I will be so freaking upset if they get acquired by Microsoft. Ed Boon, if anybody knows Ed Boon or listening, please write out a petition not to be acquired by Microsoft, because I do not want to see Mortal Kombat exclusively for Xbox. I really don't. I still want to see a lot of the NetherRealm games ported to the Nintendo Switch, especially now that we know that Mortal Kombat can play beautifully on there. Please don't let it be Microsoft. I would rather be EA before it be Microsoft, and that's saying a lot. But if anybody in here, any of the list of names that I've read off right now, I'd rather be Activision. And hopefully maybe Sony can. I would love to see Sony put their hat in. Sony Interactive to put their hat in this, because they need to. Like, please acquire both Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Are you kidding me? That would be awesome. So we will see. My fingers are crossed on that one. And jeez, hopefully not. Folks, that will do it for this portion of the show. We are going to take a break, come back, and review 2 mech-based battle games that are third-party games, Daemon x Machina and Tech Warfighter. I will be reviewing, comparing, contrasting, seeing if they're worth even investing in. We'll do that right after this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dak Xavier Josiah, the host of A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live, the podcast. You want to catch up with all of our podcast shows and hear from some of the hottest names in all of anime, comics, movies, and games, such as...
This is Miley Flanagan, the voice of Naruto.
This is Stephanie Shea, the voice of Sailor Moon.
This is Ruben Langdon, voice of Ken Masters and Dante from Devil May Cry.
Hey there, this is Kyle Hebert, the voice of Ryu from Street Fighter V.
This is Chris Battle, character designer of Teen Titans Go.
Here's your chance to check out all of that and more on TalkTimeLive.com. TalkTimeLive.com provides all of our ACMG content with new and previous episodes, exclusive interviews, articles, and much more. Visit TalkTimeLive.com and let us help you learn to let go, live life, and love all things ACMG.
Talk Time Live.
Folks, we are back with our final stage review, and it is my review of 2 games this week, 2 third-person shooter games. If I recall, I was never a big fan of third-person shooters. I wasn't a fan of Gears of War, or even action games either. I did play God of War and did like God of War. Can't deny that. They did do it in a different way. I think I will enjoy Avengers when it comes out as well. So there's some rarities, and I did like the Transformers War in Cybertron or Age of Cybertron games, which, by the way, we'll be talking a little bit about that on Sunday because, we're getting closer to that Netflix series coming out. But I decided to check this out. There's two games that I wanted to check out when it first came out, but I didn't. Daemon X Machina was one of them, and I remember when it premiered on E3, and I think it was around the same time Astral Chain was coming out too, and this was the year that people were like, oh man, Nintendo Switch is really making moves here with these games, with these exclusives. And I played Astral Chain. I knew I was going to play Astral Chain. I knew because it was Platinum Games I was going to enjoy it. I didn't know if I was going to enjoy Daemon X Machina as much, even though there was parts of it that resembled, to me, when it first premiered, I got that vibe of Zone of Enders, which was one of my favorite game series during the PS1 and PS2 era. However, upon playing the demo of this game, I discovered that this was more familiar with games like Armored Core, which was a mech game I've played but didn't enjoy back then. This was mostly due to the less than impressive mech designs along the way and the lack of story development here. So it was more of a simulation game with deep customizations, which is fine. There are people who dug Armored Core, and unfortunately, I just wasn't people. It doesn't mean that it was bad because I didn't like it. It just means it wasn't my vibe. So, but I do like the fact that it was very deep. It had a lot of deep customization and deep gameplay value for people. I just grew up with one of those. I just grew up as one of those types. When it came to mechs, I grew up a Transformers fan. And I've always loved the mech design of the Transformers. I love mech design of Robotech. And what was the other one? Gundam. Where there's some type of, humanistic element to the designs in there. So I've always liked that. Give them a look in the face, not just like, this is just a mechanical machine look that looks inorganic. So that's why I wasn't vibing it like that. But it wasn't. It also the fact that it wasn't like a pick up and play like Zone of Enders, or even like the Macross games from back then, or the Gundam games from back then, where they were complex but not entirely too complex. Like they really went on to deep simulation gameplay with Armored Core. So it was to my surprise that I learned that Daemon X Machina was developed by none other than Kenichiro Tsukuba, who is responsible for the Armored Core series. And I was like, damn it, I just can't get away from it. Tsukuba was now able to create a next level game of what he's worked on since 1997 through 2013. I didn't even realize that they were making Armored Core games all the way up to 2013. That's to that credit, that's spectacular. That's awesome. But and it could have changed. I don't know if they actually changed the way that they did the gameplay, whether there was a story mode to it. So I got to look into that. But this time around, he was able to have newly improved mech designs thanks to Soji Kawamori, who is responsible for the Armored Core series, as well as Super Dimension Fortress Macross. So you got that. And let me tell you, I do love the latest new designs that they have for some of these. I was able to customize some really good parts in this thing, and some of the head designs and everything were really cool here. So I did like it this time around. So that was a plus. Not only that, but this time around, we actually got a story with this, which something that you rarely got to see and get from Armored Core games, at least the earlier ones. I haven't played the latest ones. I think the last one I played was on like the PSP, which I purchased, but I just I can't get into this game. It's just there's nothing to this game other than customizations and testing and battling and stuff. It's I didn't get it. Now, although they did have game, a story here, I do believe the story is the game's downfall, in a sense. To briefly talk about the story, this story takes place in a post-apocalyptic Earth where the moon is torn apart and crashes onto Earth, leading a new norm of a bleeding red sky. Due to this, the destruction of the moon has also caused the development of a new special energy that turned artificial intelligence against humanity. I believe it's called Fetmo, I believe is the name of the energy that they're calling it. Your character is a rookie mercenary that joins a group known as the Otters, who piloted a highly equipped mech called Arsenals. These Arsenals are able to absorb the Fetmo as well and do some really crazy cool stuff with it. The Otters have also somehow gained the special ability after the effects of the mysterious energy coursing through their planet. Now, interesting that the story notes this, yet in the game, your character or all the other characters only have these abilities through their arsenals. So I don't know if they were able to do it themselves, and the reason being, I'll talk about that soon. It is up to the Otters to defend Earth from the artificial intelligence known as the Arms of Immortals, which AI in this case is an acronym for that. It's not artificial intelligence, it is Arms of Immortals, as they wage an ongoing battle. Okay. That seems a little bit, it seems like an okay storyline, nothing that grabs you in. A little bit, complex and deep to some extent. The big problem with this story is that it feels like a chore to get through. And if you watched any reviews out there or read any reviews about this game, it is all true. It is absolutely true. This story and narrative dragged. I struggled. And I mean, I've been playing this game nonstop for, I think, maybe 2 weeks straight, maybe 3 weeks straight now, trying to get through these games. I struggled through this game watching the story develop, which really it kind of didn't in a sense. The game characters were bland, the plot was pointless, and the dialogue was absolutely repetitive because you had from grade E to grade A missions. And it plays a little bit like God Eater. In a sense, you go through these stages, you have these side missions as well as you're going to do these jobs. There's a difference between this and God Eater, definitely. I'll go through that as time goes by. But from grade E missions to grade A missions, all you hear is the mercenaries trying to figure out why they are given missions where they have to fight each other. And this happens through the entire game. And it's like, this is as repetitive as, I believe, Rio from Shenmue asking about sailors. It gets that bad. So you have that going on. And it's like, okay, after maybe the fifth or sixth or even maybe the third time, not even the fifth or sixth, by the third time, you have to question, should I continue to do these missions that are requiring us to fight each other, that are obviously setting you up to fight each other, to destroy each other? Like, what is going on? Get to the bottom of it. No, these guys instead decide to go and do the mission without using any form of critical thinking at all. It's like, a mission is a mission. I gotta fight you. I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to try to kill you off. Wait, let's stop and think about this. We have 5 missions where we're fighting each other. That said, you were supposed to be here and you were supposed to be here. And you guys can't figure it out. And your brawn is going over your brain. And deciding to say, well, no, we're mercenaries. We have to abide by our mission. No, stop. So there was that situation. Added to this, the game was just badly fleshed out. So much so that it just came off like a drag. While they were looking to go the route of the more successful titles like God Eater, they lacked the story and character development that Bandai Namco has done with that series and accomplished for so many years. And I love God Eater. I love all the God Eaters. All the God Eaters were so great to check out and play. Even the anime I mean, the game was so good it even came out with anime. So that speaks volumes of how great God Eater is. This game was far from that at all. The game, and the fact that also it's a third-person shooter. So, now, granted, I tell you what, let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay actually is the meat and potatoes of the game. And as much as I joke about the third-person shooter aspect, that's what's so fun about this game, and that's what led me to enjoying this game so much. It comes with a complex yet not too difficult control scheme that has you in a fast-paced galactic dogfight against immortals, these huge mechs called colossals, immortals, and for some reason even has you fighting your peers as you venture through this mission and side missions. So there's that. The side missions allow you to take part in events that you previously put up against, while also earning extra currency and to buy extra upgrades, and even find some, after you defeat certain some of your peers or teammates or whatever like that, you can, or even other arsenals, you can grab new parts that you could sell or use to upgrade your arsenal as well. So that's the fun part about this game. So I love it. Some of the levels are really hard, and you do have to power up majorly to get through those levels. But there is a great balance to it. If you're not equipped to be able to do that, you need to step back and upgrade your arsenal immediately before entering these battles. But for the most part, the gameplay is very balanced. I love the gameplay. It's if I just played that and not worry about the story, I will be great. Because the story did not help this game at all. Playing through with your arsenal does make you feel like the old days of Armored Core, yet not as clunky or slow-paced as those games were. I mean, like, it is very fast-paced. Like, you're just, even when you're walking, eventually you start skiing through the ground, and then eventually you can boost higher as you're going around. So I like that. Granted, going through without your arsenal provides greater risk when you get out of it. And you do have the option to get out of the actual arsenal. And I think that was another thing that was so awesome about this game, because most games don't allow you to do this, but this has the ability. You do create your own character, which is awesome. And one of the things that I was really worried about with this game when it first came out, because a lot of anime-based games or games from Japan, when it comes to customizations, they lack a lot of representation, even though they know that there are people from foreign countries that are going to be playing this, and a lot of them are people of color. Not this game. I give great respect to what they've done. The customizations for this game, for your characters, are awesome. The hair types, they got locks, they got natural hair, they got afro. I really love it. The skin tones this is a definite game changer as far as customization. So I do love this aspect of it. It's really, 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 really cool with that. I think they had better customizations than Astral Chains as well. Even though Astral Chains did somewhat of a great job, the selections are still far and few compared to what they did here. So I like that. But your pilot, your character, can jump out of the arsenal and fight out there. The thing is, there will be a greater risk in doing so. So you got to make sure that you upgrade your character as well. And you can do that basically going through the shop and upgrading it. Now, doing so will absolutely turn you into more machine than human. So by the end of the game, you might end up being, depending on what choices you make, you may actually end up becoming an entire cyborg in this case, because you just had all these operations and such. Had I known that, I would have probably opted out of it, because there's a part where, like, the face, you're completely covered up and your body is changed completely, but you do have the ability to fight and battle better than you did before, and maybe have a better survival chance being out of your arsenal, because if your arsenal goes down, then basically you have to jump out and keep fighting, and you got to be really, really fast, and you got to be able to fly, and you got to be able to have a great arsenal enough to take down. And I have taken down some arsenals without my mech. There's a great strategy in the gameplay. Like I said, the gameplay is the biggest strength of this entire game. Thank goodness, because that story did not do it any justice at all. My only negative with the gameplay and the game style of it is the targeting system. While it works better depending on what arsenal parts that you have, particularly the head that you're using, it's still hard to target some enemies who are ridiculously fast, making it almost hard to get through during this whole entire situation. So the customizations is also, like I said, has been great. So we talked about it. You can, there's some great designs here from Kawamori here that he designed. You have a variety of heads, arms, legs, body parts along the way, shoulder weapons to fight off, and there's some heavy duty weapons as well. You just have to make sure that they're not too heavy that it slows your entire movement down, that you have enough boost speed while in there as well. Everything balances out for that. You can, like I said, you can enhance your own character as well. So you have that going on, and the customization is awesome. For some reason, also, you will have to find throughout the game. You go out to these missions, and you may come across some blueprints for more powerful parts. They don't explain too much on that portion of the customizations, or at least they don't make it easy for you to find how to find these blueprints or whatever. But once you find them, you'll have the opportunity to upgrade some really great and powerful weapons that you will definitely need during the final mission or the final battle of this game. And trust me, God, it took forever to get to this game. I couldn't be more happy to have completed this game by the end. But there's also something really quirky in this game too, and that is the random option to go to an ice cream shop. That actually, you can pick how many scoops you want, how many flavors, waffle. It's like just going into like a Ben & Jerry's or whatever. And it gives you the option to pick out these flavors. And upon these flavors, it gives you an extra boost of, it increases your stats pretty much for the next battle. And the ice cream only gives you extra stats temporarily per mission, so you have to keep going back to get it. And it, just like any shop that you go to, you get a card, and every time it stamps the card, you get an extra token, which gives you a free ice cream without you having to spend in currency. So it is what it is. Overall, I like this game in terms of the core gameplay and the stunning art style and visuals. However, when digging deep into the story, it resulted in such constant boredom. I was wanting this game to end so badly, and it just felt like it was taking forever for it to end. There was such a lack of balance of narrative in this game. It was just putting in the story just for the sake of the story, but the story just plain sucked. This was the first time I've ever played a game where the side missions outweighed the main missions and the story missions. As far as the gameplay and presentation, this game has it. But as a whole, it suffers from bad storytelling and development, which makes this a hollow game experience. And for that, I have to give this a C at best. That's just the way I see it from right there. There's no way I could give this a B- for any stretch, or even a C+. It's just a C. So, on the other hand, you have an indie development group, Tech War Fighter, by Drake and Dev, or Dracker Dev. Now, if you're looking for a mech game with a action simulation experience with less complexities as Daemon X Machina, then maybe War Tech Fighter may be the game for you. War Tech Fighter is a third-person space shooter featuring more giant mech robots fighting in space rather than on Earth. This game has been compared to in the likes of Hollywood movie styles of Pacific Rim. And it kind of has that type of feel. You do kind of get that type of feel. But also with like a modern day Asteroids game feel. And I don't know if any gamers remotely is old enough to know what Asteroids is. I don't know my demographics at the moment here. But if you're old school like I am, asteroids is as Paleolithic as you could get as far as gameplay. So it has that type of element, which is kind of cool. It is really cool. The game focuses less on plot and character development rather than the gameplay, which after playing Daemon X Machina, this was a relief. I didn't care about the story element. There is a story there, but the story is really simple and effective, to be honest. In the story, your character in a battle against an alien force known as the Zetronians, and it is up to you and your group and your team or force or whatever to save the galaxy from this terroristic galactic threat. That is it. That's all I need to hear. Enough said. You know what you're fighting against. You're going in. You're doing your thing. Nothing really big. There is some minor cutscenes in here. I guess due to limitation and budget, whatever, and that's fine. But I think their limitations is their strength in this case. What the game lacks in presentation of the previous game that I just reviewed, it makes up for in a fun and user-friendly experience. Wartech Fighter allows you to build and upgrade your fully equipped Wartech as you destroy enemies in a large-scale combat fight. The game also has the ability to battle in first and third person view. I never actually did the first person view. I need to try that, but I love the third person view of it. It was awesome. I like the fact to see your tech your Vortex, I should say, out in the field, and there's some really cool mech designs in here as well. The customizations feel a bit tricky though, and a bit convoluted compared to the last game I reviewed. But once you figure it out, it does give you some very rewarding and some powerful designs that you get. The mech designs are pretty good in here. I would say equally. I would almost say equally. It's not like the cell shaded look of Daemon X Machina, but there is a charm. There's a beautiful charm to the look and feel of this game, and it has that little bit of a humanoid look that I love from Transformers and the series, all the games and anime series that I mentioned, Transformers and Gundam and Robotech, stuff like that. So I did like some of what they provided. You can have the more mech look, and then they have some, very humanoid looking mechs as well. So the mech designs are pretty good, and I do like them. However, it gets even better. There's some really cool looking mechs, and then some of them that look very familiar to other game characters, such as the Reaper from Darksiders, and even one that looks like War Machine. I don't know if they have a collaboration or agreement with those companies to do this, but if you get those mechs, you will absolutely see even the swords and everything. I don't know if there's some collaboration with Marvel or the company. I believe THQ is the one that handles Darksiders, or whatever company that handles Darksiders now. But you have some interesting ones from that point. How to attain them relies on you to doing side missions and finding these hidden items across the stages you enter. So you have to go deep. Leveling up seems to be quite simple to pull off, while conducting research and development doesn't feel as easy to do. Wartech Fighter could have benefited actually from having a more comprehensive tutorial on how to do everything in here. And that's the one negative I would have for this game, is that when you want to learn how to build things, it's not that self-explanatory. And that's one of the problems I have with a lot of these mech simulation games. This is why I love Gundam so much. Gundam was so much easier to really get into, because they don't require you to do so much. It's just you get in, you pilot the Gundams, you're out. Same with Macross. It doesn't have to be that deep. What really made the gameplay experience so much fun, though, is in fact their targeting system, which is total opposite of what I had in Daemon X Machina. So much of a difference. Even in fast-paced battles, you really lock into your enemies, and when you get closer to defeating them, your targeting system turns red, giving you the opportunity to hit the X button, which sets off a cool QTE sequence of your war tech destroying the ships or the other mechs, which is a really cool Pacific Rim style of cinematic scene that you have. And that's where I love about this. This was so fun about this game. The other fun mode in this is fighting against other war techs, which becomes a back and forth Rock'em Sock'em type of battle sequence that is kind of reminiscent of both Rock'em Sock'em Robots and Blades of Steel, if you guys remember that hockey game from back in the day. So you can also compete in survival mode, where you can go off against limited amounts of enemies as you go down. And the longer you last, the more it benefits you, as you will gain different items and currency or whatnot from there. So that's a great way of actually, getting enough money to afford to upgrade your characters as well. But you can't just go in there and do it the first time around. You need to build, your character needs to be way more powerful before you can enter the survival mode to give you a better advantage of gaining more currency and other items as well. Overall, while War Tech Fighter doesn't have the big anime presentation and budget of Daemon X Machina, it has a lot of heart, and that's where the game really compares almost evenly to that. And its simple and effective gameplay also makes it a bit more enjoyable to me. So, plus having a light and easy to follow story didn't drain my life away from this. I would, if I'm going to grade this, honestly, I also evenly gives this a C, no more, no less. Like, both these games are good. They're really good and they're fun to play, but one has something the other one hasn't. So if you combine them together, they're both really good fun experience, but I wouldn't focus on, as far as if you want something for story development or something like that, this is not for you. If you want hardcore gameplay and fun, action, both these games got something to offer on that level. So, but they're not the best things that I've played ever, especially in comparison to other games that I've played earlier this year or recently, or even coming up soon. So, both of these games get a C, but if you're a Mech fan, I'd say from a play standpoint, if I just focus on completely gameplay, I would say one gets a B, and the other one, actually one gets a B, the other one will probably get, I would give them a B as far as both gameplay. I mean, they're different, but have some evenly quality elements to them as well. So there you have it. Those are my thing. Let me tell you, I'm so glad that I'm finally able to give this a review, because I struggled majorly getting through both these games. I may never do something like this again. But there you have it. That's my review of both these games. Evenly good games, but not the best thing that you're ever going to play out here. So, folks, that will do it for this edition of Select Start. Thank you guys so very much for being on, for coming and listening to the show, and taking an hour of your time to get away from what's going on in the world. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you again to all my new followers and listeners of the show as well. Really appreciate it. This Sunday, anime fans, listen up. This Sunday, I am going to talk about a classic anime that you may or may not know about, that I've been dying to talk about. And if you're a wrestling fan, anime fans and wrestling fans, you will definitely want to tune in for this episode, because I am going to look back at a cult classic known as Kinnikuman. If you recognize that name, most of you know that. If you are old school, if you're a guy my age and you had toys from back in the day, and in one particular called Muscle, which was these little pink toys, that in fact is based on an anime and a manga series that is still running in Japan. Well, at least the manga is still running in Japan, called Kinnikuman, which is these intergalactic wrestlers that you will have the opportunity to check out. If you haven't, go online, look them up. But I want to talk about this show because I recently got a chance to watch from episodes 1 to 87, which covers 3 or 4 different arcs of the series. And there's a lot to talk about this series, why I love this series and why I was offended by this series throughout this whole entire thing. There's some offensive things, but you got to take account that this was the 80s, And they did manage to change out. So we'll talk about that. The comedy, the controversy, and why I believe this needs to be rebooted majorly. For wrestling fans especially. So we're going to talk about that and all of the news that is going on this week in the world of our favorite fandom. So stay tuned for that as well. Again, folks, thank you again. You can check out all of our episodes, including the recent exclusive with the cast of Naruto on TalkTimeLive.com. You can also go on to Talk Time Live exclusive on that page to check out all of our interviews with some of the best in all things anime, comics, movies, and games. From game developers to Marvel producers to artists in the world of Marvel and DC. I mean, we got it. We got them in here. It is so awesome. You can check us out also and subscribe and download on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Podbean, and all the Amazon devices as well. I actually listened to an episode of my show on Amazon. I can't say it because I have the device in here, and if I shout it out, it's going to say it. But all Amazon devices as well, you can check it out in here. So thank you guys so much. There will be some more exclusives coming down the line. There may be some other news coming down the line. So hopefully that will be some good news that I get to hear coming down the line based on some talks that I had recently and some meetings I had recently. So cross your fingers, stay tuned for that, and continue to support this show. Thank you all again. I really appreciate it, especially during these times. So folks, thank you so much, and get ready for this Sunday's episode. That is it for now. This is Dax Xavier Josiah saying, learn to let go, live life, and love all things anime, comics, movies, and games. This is A.C.M.G. Presents Talk Time Live. I am out of here. Be safe. Please be safe. And have a great week. I'll talk to you on Sunday. Take care. Music for this episode is provided by Game Chops. Check out these great chiptune tracks and more at music.gamechops.com.